Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pursuit of Relentless podcast. Today, I am so excited. I have one of the ladies that I have been watching over my entire career. I remember the first time that I saw her speak, I was like, wow, I got to get in front of this lady. So I'm super blessed to have her here today. This is Jaime Villalovos, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be with you today.
Awesome. So I want to start out just by asking you your story and going through like what got you into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, well, my story, I guess, I grew up in a very tiny town in northeastern Montana, a town of about 300 people. So it was more like a village and very, very small thinking. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for women. There wasn't a lot of jobs at all. Actually, my dad was always in and out of work. We were very poor. We lived in a trailer kind of on the edge of town. And I'm the oldest of 6 kids. So I had a big sense of responsibility to help them and to also get us kind of out of that situation that we were in. And so growing up, I saw my dad struggle. And, sometimes we didn't even have enough food, and so I knew I didn't want that life. I knew I didn't want to be poor. I would have to hear them argue about which bill we could pay. And there was always financial stress in our home. Both my parents and then my dad and my stepmom divorced, and a lot of arguments over money. And so I knew I wanted something more, but again, there was no opportunity at all out there in Montana. So I came out to California right after high school, really with the idea of paying my way through school, going to a community college, getting a decent job, and then helping my family back home. So I started working. First, it was just kind of anything that I could walk to that would give me a job until I could save enough money to buy a car. And then I started working in a corporate job. It was actually in a health club. And I was working long hours, but I thought, this will be a great place to work. People are trying to get in shape and improve themselves. And so I thought, like I said, this would be a great opportunity while I'm going to school. And pretty soon I got promoted very quickly, actually, to assistant manager and then manager. Then I was given my own club. And so that income went from, basically minimum wage to 40,000, 60,000, eventually 70,000. And so I couldn't turn down the promotions, but I also, it meant I had to work typically 11 hours a day. And it was 6, sometimes 7 days a week. So I was working like a self-employed person, but getting paid like an employee. Right. And so after about 4 years, I was kind of at the point where I was pretty sick and tired of having someone control my time, having someone have their thumb on me all the time, dictate when I can see my family. And really what happened was I not just hit an income ceiling, but I had stopped learning. I had stopped growing. I was get up, go to work, do the same thing day in, day out, every single day, go home, go to bed, do it again the next day. And so I started to get, very, very, dissatisfied and wanting something that I could control my time, would love to have my own business. I think most people would love to have their own business, love to have that freedom, control of their time, be able to put their faith and family first. But how? It's hard to even fathom starting the business. Do you have to start, have a bunch of capital? So I stayed at that gym, and for about, another 9 months, just really, really being over it, being sick and tired of, that corporate, no appreciation, again, no growth. And then a lady came into the gym one day. She had just had her baby, her second child. And I was showing her around and helping her out. And she said, "Oh, you're really nice. You're really good with people. Have you ever thought of doing something new?" And for me, it was perfect timing. I was so hungry for change in my life. It was hard for me to even look for another job because I was working so many hours. To even just go out there and look for a job, it would have been very difficult. We didn't have like monster.com at that time or stuff like that. We only had go throw a resume out there and talk to people, right?
Right.
But so when she approached me, again, it was perfect timing, and I was wanting more. And I said, "Sure, when can I come see your husband? What does he do? What does he do?" And she kind of tried to explain what he did, and it was a new industry that I knew nothing about. And so, again, it was a little overwhelming going into this new industry, taking this chance. It was a very male-dominated industry, like most of them, but I knew nothing about it. But I was, again, excited for growth, for change, for new opportunity. And so I came in as almost like a side business in the beginning, because again, I had responsibilities, I had money I needed to make, and so I came in part-time, but very quickly in about 45 days, quit my job, went full-time as an entrepreneur, and I love it. I couldn't do anything else. I definitely couldn't be employed ever again.
Yeah, I hear that. I was in a similar boat. I also had a position that everyone's like, oh, this is going to be your dream job. And I was like, nope, I hate it. Like,
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
am I here? You know what I mean? And then when I was introduced to the company I'm with now, it was like night and day. You go into this place where everyone's happy and you're like, what? This is unlike anything I've ever seen before. And what's going on, you know? And it's so different. But when you realize that it's because people have freedom and you're able to actually have control of your life and control of your time, what do you have to complain about? You know,
Right. Well, if you're making money and you're helping others, but then you also have control of your time, yeah, that's the dream business right there.
exactly. So fast forward to where you're at today. Did you see yourself being like a super successful person um, in the past? You know what I mean? Like, were you like,
When
oh,
I got
I'm for
started,
sure going to be successful?
well, when I first got started, I thought I had such small vision. I had such tiny vision. I remember coming into this new environment, again, very positive, good people making money, but it was in an industry I knew nothing about, products I had never heard of before. Luckily, there was a lot of coaches and mentors that were willing to help me. But I remember going into a meeting with one of the guys that was coaching me, and he said, I want to see your business plan. What are your goals? How big are you thinking right now? So I wanted to impress him, and I said, I want to make $10,000 in a month. And no one I knew made that kind of money. No one in my family ever made that kind of money. So I thought I was thinking pretty big, and I thought I was gonna, knock his socks off here with my business plan. And I went in there, and he literally like threw my business plan on the floor. He's like, "This is crap. Like, look around, think bigger, look what's possible. What do you really, really, really want your life to look like?"
Yeah.
And he challenged my thinking, my small thinking that was ingrained in me back in Montana and that trailer. And I thought, well, what do I really want? Like, if sky's the limit and I had a magic wand, I'd want to make $500,000 a year, residual income, where I wouldn't have to worry about, going to work. I don't have to have an alarm clock. I can do what I want when I want, and I can be at all my kids' games, and that would be awesome. And I'm thinking, that was huge thinking, I thought, right? And impossible. And he's like, oh, well, that's a little better. And he started to back engineer a plan for me and made it look so simple. So no, I didn't think I was going to be this big success story. Again, no one in my family's been successful in anything. I mean, none of my aunts and uncles even stayed married, you know what I mean? And none of them ever went to college. So to me, I was hopeful, excited, a little terrified, and very doubtful, but just kind of just going, forward. Just kept, I was confused, but kept kind of stumbling forward, making mistakes, getting better. Luckily, I was around vision stretchers. I put myself in positions to be around great mentors and coaches. I started devouring self-improvement books, and just getting better and working on, more than anything, my mindset, my mental toughness, and my belief.
Yes.
And I just know that if I believe it can happen, then I can make it happen. So I would stretch myself to the next big, almost impossible goal.
Mm-hmm.
And, so there was a few in between that 500,000 and, where I was, but I would put, these little goals of what I thought was big and exciting, but a little scary, and stretching myself. And then I would just put a plan in place. I would get all the help I could, and I would just crush that goal. And then what would happen was when I hit the goal, I call it becoming an impossibility achiever. It's when you think something's a little impossible, but it's not, because it's probably been done, right? It's probably already been done by several people. But I would hit it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I can do that, well, then maybe I can do this. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as I would hit a goal, I would challenge my thinking again and stretch my vision to, well, what else can I do? And so I just, instead of settling ever, I just kept thinking bigger. And as you grow as a person, as a leader, as a mentor, as an entrepreneur, just in all of your capacities, your vision will stretch. So in the beginning, no, to answer your question, but then as I got a little further down the path, a few years down, again, being around the right people, the right meetings, reading the right books, my vision was completely different. And so making a couple $1 million a year was just a matter of time in my mind, right? I just got to do the right things, don't make it the same mistakes that other people made, learn from their mistakes. And so then I did start to envision exactly what I have now. I started to create my dream life. So instead of just focusing on a promotion or an income or a title or a job, I really started to hone in on what do I really want my ideal life to look like?
Yes.
With my family, with my spiritual life, with my business, with my income, with my travel, with everything, dream home, everything. I'm in my house here in California. And it was funny because I had a group over that I was coaching, and they said, Jaime, did you ever imagine this? We live on some acreage here. It's not far from the beach. It's really a kid's paradise too. Like we have this skate ramp out here and just all these great things. And they'll sit and they'll watch my waterfall and the kids going down the water slide in my backyard. Like, did you ever imagine this? And I said, yeah, every morning and every night as I visualized my business plan, I did. When I was living in a 600 square foot apartment, making no money, 60 grand in debt, I was envisioning this life, this day. And so, yeah, so there's, I guess, two answers to that question. In the beginning, no, I was coming in very cold, very timid, very nervous and hopeful and excited. But then as my vision stretched, as I kept pushing myself and growing myself, my vision kept expanding. And then, yes, got clarity. Clarity is important.
I love that. It's so true. Like when you're first new in entrepreneurship, it is big and scary. And you're sitting here going, oh yeah, all this money, people tell you 100 grand a year is a lot of money. And then you're like, oh, but it's not when you run a business because you have expenses and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, it could be a lot of money to some people, totally. But if you look at the big idea of what you can create in your life, if you only limit yourself to that amount of money, then you're really stopping other people from winning as well, because you never know what you're able to create, right? And I'm just sitting here going, okay, well, if I have this big vision for myself, I love that you said you visualize it every single day, because I just recorded a podcast, just myself, on being a visionary leader. And I am learning every single day about, painting that picture for myself. But I sell the dream to my husband, and it's like, okay, honey, we're going to have an acreage one day, and we're going to have a yoga studio in a tree. It's going to be amazing. And I love it. And he's like, okay, honey, like, yes, we are. It's going to be awesome. He's like, until we get there though. And I'm like, no, you can't think like that. Yeah. We have to think as if it's already happened, right? Because then you can visualize it and start believing it. But if you don't believe that it's actually going to be able to happen, it's hard to get to that point, because the things that you need to get there aren't necessarily going to all line up the way that you want, right?
For sure.
Yeah, for so sure. Challenging.
And what you said, belief can be induced. Yeah. It's repetition. And that's why I read it every morning, every night. I also have pictures around my house that are of our next vision. I have my vision board right now of all the things that I want. I've now practiced this so much that I have a business plan, I guess a life plan that goes 100 years after I pass away.
Wow.
Of the things that I want for my posterity. I have a trust we're putting in place right now, so that if any of the kids, grandkids, great grandkids, anybody, cousins, whatever, wants to do any charity, philanthropy, missionary type work, this trust will fund that. So, it's just, your vision gets stretched and your belief, becomes more solid. But I love that you said you're selling it to yourself. That's what you have to do. You have to get clarity, like really. Clarity is your best friend. Crystal clear on what would be awesome. Like if money was no object, what would I be doing with my contributions, with my husband, whatever. And then when you get yourself so excited about it, like you're so turned on, now you're ready to go sell it to your husband, your team, your whoever, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, for me, I had to sit down with a legal pad on my lap hundreds of times, thousands maybe, in my career, stretching my own vision. Writing down in my 4 quadrants: faith, family, fitness, finance, what is ideal. And I look at some of my early business plans and they were such small thinking. But during that little session, I was stretching myself to think bigger and get myself excited. And another little secret that I would do, one of my one of my friends and coaches, he's been a business partner of mine for 20 plus years, Ed Milet. I remember when I was starting out and I would do this, exciting plan, and I was getting fired up about it. I would ask myself, if Ed was in my position, if he was where I am today, would this be his plan? Is it big enough? Is it exciting enough? Because there's a quote that says, make no small plans, for they have no power to stir the soul. And so it has to really stir your soul. Like you are fired up, like you're in the shower, like fast, trying to wash your hair so that you can get out and get back to work because you're so excited about where you're going. If not, you'll focus on where you're at, which is a lot of the problems, the challenges, the things to overcome, the drama that's going on in your life. Everybody has it. You'll focus on that, which then traps you right where you're at. If you focus on where you're going constantly, then you're excited, number one, but you're also gravitating faster towards it.
Yeah, it gives you that little key of urgency.
Yeah,
definitely. I love that. And I think it's so important. And like, I'm thinking about my own vision and I'm like, okay, I want to hit 50 licenses this year. You know what I mean? And I'm just sitting here going, that's a stretch. But at the same time, it's not, because I look at where I'm at in my business and I'm like, oh no, that's actually very achievable. And I could probably do it in 6 months if I really wanted to, you know what I mean? And then, I don't know, I want to go back a little bit to where you were talking about how you're from a small town and around very small thinkers. And I think that a lot of people that are going into business are surrounded by people that don't necessarily understand their vision and what they're going to create, because they don't see themselves being able to achieve that. So if you could talk a little bit about dealing with people who do think really small and like not getting offended by that or not taking that to heart, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's the small thinkers, but there's also the haters. There's, so when I started in business, I was so excited. I was so hopeful, like just the possibilities, and really just excited about the possibility of a better quality of life. That's it. It's really simple. But then I called my mom because I was so excited, and I love my mom, but she cares about me. She thought I had the dream job because I was making more than her at 22 years old. And she's like, no, you have a great job. Don't quit your job. And then she said, she said, well, what makes you think you can do this? You didn't go to school for this. And then she was even more skeptical. And she said, you don't know these people. This sounds too good to be true. And I'm like, wow, okay. I thought that she'd be excited for me. She knew I hated my job. Then I call up the guy I was dating at the time, and I'm like, oh, he knows how much I hate my job. He's going to be supportive. And he said, oh, no, that sounds like way too much time. You already have a job to have something on the side. I don't think you have enough time on, you have no time in your schedule as it is. We're never going to see each other. Plus, I just don't think this is for you. This industry. Like, wow, like that. I thought zero support. Very surprised. Then I call a good friend of mine who he was actually helping me to kind of like leave that gym and stuff. And I'm like, well, at least he's going to be excited for me. And then he just started talking all kinds of mess about the company and the industry. And I was like, oh my gosh, like 1, 2, 3, one after another within minutes. And it made me question, am I stupid to think this is a good thing? Am I crazy to even try? But then I remembered, all of those people are broke. They have no money. They've never had any business success. And, I was like, why am I listening to them? Forget that. Like they care about me and they have their opinions, but that doesn't matter. They're not going to retire me. They're not going to pay my, kids' way to college. That's on me. They're not going to retire my parents. So I had to say, okay, in my heart, how do I feel? I feel excited for once in a long time. I feel hopeful. I feel like I'm learning again and growing. And this just seems like a great industry to help people. That's something I could really make an impact and, make a life. And so I decided not to listen. And I know that's hard sometimes because it doesn't feel good to hear critiquing. It doesn't feel good to hear disappointment. And so for the first few years, I got a lot of that. Actually, I would go to Thanksgiving dinner and my cousin would say, oh, you're still in that, doing that thing, that business, you making $1 million yet? I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm like, I really like it. I didn't want to fight with her because I was hoping she'd give me referrals or something eventually. But I just knew in my heart that I'm doing what's right. I felt like it was a good company with high, values and integrity, and what I was doing was good. So you have to make sure that you feel like, yep, this is good. This is a place I can plant my flag and grow here and make a difference here and make a life here and not worry about what any of the naysayers say. Again, I had small thinking for a long time. And then that one guy, that third guy I called, I ran into him. Sean and I were with the kids out to dinner, and he was doing real estate and he was struggling. And he asked me, how we were doing. And I didn't want to say, but, because I don't like to talk or brag or those things. But then he started digging and he started asking, he's like, I heard that you were doing really good. I said, yeah, we're doing pretty good. And then he said, well, I heard that you're like making 7 figures. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, is it true? Like this residual 7 figures? I'm like, yeah, but and I thought about it because he was struggling, in the real estate industry. And I thought, thank goodness I didn't listen to them. Thank goodness I didn't let it in my heart or my head, and it didn't stop for a while. I mean, even I remember when I was making pretty good income, doing very well, had just bought my first nice dream home, and we were really happy. And a family member of mine called my mom and said, Jamie's doing this thing. Is it legit? And at that point, my mom kind of stood up for me and she's like, well, I don't think you're looking at the right thing, because if it doesn't have Jamie's face all over it, it's probably not the right company. Right? And she's like, she's the big shot. And she stood up for me. But I still thought about this family member that I loved that was, behind my back saying these things. But again, I thought that family member that's saying those things is going to need me someday. Yeah. And so those people that were small thinking, naysayers, even very negative to me in the beginning, a lot of them have come to me now needing help, needing money, you know what I mean? So again, thank goodness I was doing it for them. They loved me, they were giving me their input, and I kind of just tuned it out. Instead, well, the hell they say that you're the sum of the 5 people you associate with most.
Yes.
If you have the 5 people that you hang out with the most, talk to the most, add up their income, divide by 5, that's probably what you make, right? I told someone that one time, they said, well, I'm a housewife, I don't make any money. I'm like, well, who do you hang out with the most? Kids that don't have an income.
Right.
So, but like, it's just, so what I did was I looked at these people that I hung out with the most. I said, who's the negative one bringing me down? Maybe I could, even though I love them, just in the beginning, while I'm just working so hard on my mindset of an entrepreneur as a leader to be able to attract wealth, maybe I cut back that time and that association and replace it with someone either through books or mentorship that is where I want to be. Or making a lot more money and further down the path that I want to be on. And so that's what I did. I took those 5 people. I said, I'm not going to talk to her as much, not going to talk to him as much. And I replaced it with people that were very successful, but also, again, someone that I would want what they have.
That is absolute gold. Thank you so much for that. Because again, when I first started in business, it was the same thing. It was, oh, what are you doing? You're so dumb for quitting your job. Like, what do you mean you're going to go full time? What are you thinking? And I'm like, And then of course, 3, 4, 5 years later, it's, oh, I believed in you the whole time. And I'm like, okay, except for when you didn't, right? No, that never happened. I'm like, but it did, and
still love them though. You know what I mean? Still love them.
100%.
Yes. Love them. Love them. Most of them are very well-meaning. There are the few that are maybe possibly jealous, or it's just you having growth is pulling them outside their comfort zone. They're feeling uncomfortable because you used to go to the movies every weekend, or you would hang out on the, at the lake or something. And now you're growing, changing and developing and happier, and it's putting them outside their comfort zone. They don't like that. So there's that a little bit, but most of it's well-meaning. So just love them, and again, eventually maybe they're gonna need you, and that's okay. Don't be like, I told you so. Look how much money I'm making now.
Exactly.
You wish you were with me a lot from the beginning. Don't do stuff like that. Just love them and appreciate it. And again, if they are too negative and it's a close family member, you can say something. You don't have to be combative, but you can say, hey, listen, I am so excited. Tell them why. Tell them your long-term vision, dream, what you're planning on doing for your family. Like, have it come with conviction from the heart and be like, this is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for our family. And listen, I need your support. And if that's too much to ask, I need you to at least zip it
Mhm.
for a little while. Will you do that? Do you love me? Will you do that for me? And so again, it's being assertive and protecting your dream and protecting your mindset.
Mhm. That's amazing. So when it comes to, okay, you're starting in business and you're doing the growth and you're got the mentors and everything like that, was there a moment when you were just like, oh, I get it?
Yeah, there's a few like of
Yeah.
those defining moments. You know, a lot in the beginning, it was just like excitement, confusion, and just searching out for someone that had answers.
Yeah.
And I guess that was my strength. I was like, I know nothing. I'm humble. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I was
Yeah.
very coachable. Um, Defining moments, though, yes, there was a few. There was one time I went to this event in Tampa, and I don't even remember what was said, but I remember how I felt.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, like, this is it. Like, I'm going to make it here or I'm going to die trying. They'll find me dead in the office or something if I don't make it. But I just made a decision to be 100% committed. And greatness starts with commitment.
Mm.
And so I kind of, like Napoleon Hill's great book, Think and Grow Rich, he says, burn your boats.
Mhm.
If you've not read that book, there's a story in there where this army was told by their captain to burn their boats so they couldn't retreat. And so that's what I did. I just decided, burn my boats. There is no plan B.
Mhm.
This is it. This is where my family's dreams are going to come true.
Mhm.
This is it. And so I'm going to just put all of my focus, all of my energy into creating this life and business that I can enjoy, be proud of, and that can make a difference in the lives of others. And that's it. So for a while, and people might not like hearing this, but for a while, I cut out a lot of hobbies, extras. I just streamlined my life and simplified my life to be faith, family, business. That's it. Maybe trying to keep my health up too. Now I'm better at that, but in the beginning, I probably wasn't as good at the fitness side, even though I came from a gym. But faith, family, and business was pretty much it. So I stopped, doing these things that I like to do, TV shows or time wasting type activities. When you make it, it's not just the money. It's not just this lifestyle or the travel or accolades or whatever. It's the person that you become.
Yes.
That's the biggest reward in this. The leader, the contributor, the person that you become for your family, for your kids, it's different. And so I was chasing that second version of me.
Mm.
And so to get there, I wanted that life, that the stuff I want to do for my family, I wanted it to be as close to now as possible. I wanted to move that vision closer to today. So every day was with that end in mind. Stephen Covey says vision is working every day with the end in mind.
Mm. I love that.
And so I was focused on that. So yeah, I mean, I cut out all that stuff. I cut out all the hobbies. And again, when you make it, you'll have all the time in the world. And it
Mhm.
might seem like, oh, that can be boring. That's, all you're doing is working. No, well, I love my work.
Yes.
Every day is honestly like an adventure. Every day is, changing lives. And even if the day-to-day grind can get to you, think about again where you're going. Remember, if you're focused on today, it's no fun and it's going to keep you there. But if you're focused on where you're going, that dream life, that everything you want for your family, those really emotional, passionate goals that you have maybe for your parents or for your kids, those whys, if you're constantly feeding your heart and your mind with that, and you're just charging, work doesn't seem like a grind. In fact, it goes like fast. It goes like this. Those first few years went so fast. And so anyways, like I said, it's you'll have time for that in the end. Like not in the end, but like when you get there. For me, that $500,000, residual income happened only a few years later.
Mhm.
And so I had complete freedom, pretty much set myself up, financially for life. And I could put anything first. I can put my kids' baseball game. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. So to me, it was making those short-term sacrifices by cutting out the TV and, not going with my friends to the lake on the weekend. It was not even a sacrifice. It was not a big deal at all.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so true. And
Very worth it.
I love that you said that because so many people are just struggling right now, especially we're coming out of COVID now. And it's like, okay, well, what's next? Like, what's the world going to look like? Nobody knows, guys. Like, no one knows what's coming. But all we know is what we're trying to create. And if we don't have that intention set, like this is the life that I want to have, or this is the person I want to become, I think back to where I was 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I started in the business. Man, you couldn't get me to stand in front of people. You couldn't get me to read in public. Like, no chance in the world is that going to happen. Well, I've developed into this person that I'm super proud of. And I'm like, I'm not perfect, but I'll tell you, I had a miscarriage a couple months ago. And the person that came out of that is like, I was sitting there going, oh, I thought I'd be, in a worse place. But the person I've become through it has given me that strength and that community, right? The people that I know, my business partners brought me dinner and, this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, I just had those moments of gratitude when I was like, wow, I am doing something good here. Like I am pursuing my life in the right direction because I'm proud of the person that I've become. And I realized that I've developed like mental toughness, even just like a little bit, but I think people get so discouraged and they quit so soon because they have those people in their lives that are just going, what are you thinking? Like, what do you mean you're going to start a business, And again, like you said, you just got to love on them. Definitely. So yeah, that's a huge tip for everybody. I want you to talk a little bit about your book and what you're doing with your book and like your vision for what you see coming in the future and where people can get access to you, please.
Yes. Okay. Well, as far as access, I would say probably most active on Instagram, which is at Jaime.Villalovos. Also, Facebook, whatever, but happyandstrong.com. You can kind of go in there and see what we're all about. But my book, it's coming out in May. It's actually on pre-sale right now. May 17th is the pub date, but we are excited. This is I've been in business as an entrepreneur for 23 years. And have built, a great business, a great life. And over the last few years, even before COVID, people would ask, everywhere I would travel and speak, they'd say, how do you do it all, Jaime? How do you have 4 kids? I have a 6-year-old all the way up to 16-year-old. I have, all these philanthropic things that we're doing. And then I have, a few businesses. One of them is an agency of 6,000 plus people that I'm a mom to kind of as well. Mm-hmm. So they're like, how do you do it? How do you, keep your sanity even? And have this dream life. And so, I found the last few years that was my favorite thing to coach on is, how to streamline your life, how to get the clarity, how to create the plan and attack and grow a great business. But more than that, once you get there or on your way even, how do you maintain that balance and happiness and be able to put your family and your faith first and these other things. And so the book Happy and Strong is about success means that when you get there, you are happy, you're strong, and you can enjoy the journey along the way. And, I see too many people that chase these big dreams and they're still not happy when they get there. And they think happiness is like, well, when I get this promotion or when I move or when I have a baby or whatever, then I'll be happy. And it's not an event. It's not a destination. It's something that you can create and you can design your life exactly how you want to live it. You can design your dream life. I've done it, and I've done it in every area of my life, from wellness to everything. And so that's my favorite thing to mentor and coach on. So right before COVID, my friend Ed Milet, he was saying, Jaime, you're one of the only women that's making this, high multiple 7 figures, but also happily married, also has complete freedom of your time, plus has 4 kids, right? He's like, and he challenged me to kind of start coaching more on the happy and strong versus all the other stuff I do in entrepreneurship and leadership. And again, I loved it. So then during COVID, I wasn't planning on writing a book. I was thought maybe, when the kids are older and moved out, maybe I would, but I don't know, something just kept putting it on my heart that now was the time. I had a little bit of extra time during COVID on my completely busy plate. And so yes, it's coming out. I'm excited. So anybody that's very driven, hungry, especially entrepreneurs, especially women, but really is for all entrepreneurs, to really, how do you juggle it all? How do you schedule it in? How do you maintain your balance, your happiness, and how do you achieve that happiness? I noticed when you talked about how you went through that adversity. Napoleon Hill says in every adversity, not some, but all adversities, there's a seed of equal or greater benefit if and only if we look for it. So in the book, I teach how to do that.
Cool.
how to use that adversity, and how to use gratitude, and how to use all these different tools the right way. So it's just we're excited, and like I said, right now they can get it. It's on pre-order. They can get it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or pretty much anywhere you buy books. So I think so.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's seriously what I want people to get out of the show, is that there's not necessarily, like, balance is an illusion that we create for ourselves. And it's like Ed talks about, sometimes you have to have your business is strong for a couple months, and then you take a little break and you do some family stuff. And then you're focused heavily on volunteering in your church or whatever it is, right, with your faith.
Right.
And if you can find what makes you happy, that is the ultimate goal. And yes, you need to be financially prosperous. And yes, you need to be able to put food on your table for your family. But at the same time, where are you recharging? Like, what are you doing for yourself? And I see it so often with especially females. So we're talking to you ladies. I see it all the time where it's give, and no receiving. And I'm like,
yeah, there's a lot in the book about taking care of yourself first, the self-care portion. I mean, all these things I learned from lots of trial and error, lots of mistakes, lots of mentors, but the book's about, the first half is probably how to win in business, how to grow a business, but then how to free yourself up from that business, scaling it, but putting systems in place so that you have the freedom, that you're working on it, not in it all the time. But then, like I said, that balance part, and a lot of people hear that like, well, there's no balance. Of course, that's true. Of course, like sometimes you're going to be more heavy on family because someone in your family's sick, or, there's some big things that you're doing over here, or maybe you're in business, you're going for a big promotion or goal that you have. And so you're always kind of doing this balancing act. But what they don't know, and I just haven't seen any books out there really that are good on this, is there's a ton of tools. There's a ton of things that you can do to get things off of your plate, that you can systematize things, that you can overcome this overwhelm that you're feeling with the constant balancing act that you're trying to do. Even if it is this, and it's never perfect balance, the whole time you're trying that, you're freaking stressed out. And there's a difference between busy and passionate and fulfilled and excited and making a difference, and busy, overwhelmed, stressed out, tired, wondering if this is ever going to work and if it's worth it.
Right.
And so most entrepreneurs and businesses fail because they're going through this for too long, and they're like, is it worth it? And I already told you it's worth it, but you don't have the tools. So the book there's a lot of, inspiration in my story and how to do it, but really just a lot of the things that I've created, the tools and the charts and all the stuff that you can use with family in your business, my lifestyle SOPs, all these different things that will help, hopefully, to have more fulfillment, I guess.
I can't wait to read your book, because I'm at that point in my business where it's like, okay, I'm starting to systematize. I'm starting to learn how to get to the next place that I want to be. And it's not worrying about my own personal business anymore. It's about scaling, and it's about leadership, and it's about learning to develop my own confidence and stuff like that, and the person that I want to become. And it excites me so much to be able to retire my husband, to be able to be a mom, like to be able to have that dream life that I'm just like sitting here going, it's going to be so great when, but then I'm like, no, it's already great. You know what I mean? I'm like, you should be able to still enjoy your life, even if you're not where you're at. And Ed calls that blissful dissatisfaction. Right. And I love that conversation, because I think it's so important. So that's why
the book is called Happy and Strong. It says creating your dream life while enjoying the journey. So yes, you could be chasing that next version of you, that second you, big dreams that you're after, wonderful stuff that you want for your family, but in the moment still too, and happy with where you're at, but growing and keeping the challenge going for yourself.
I love that so much. Well, thank you for your time today. I know you are so busy, and I really appreciate you coming and taking the time to speak to my audience. So make sure that you guys follow Jaime on social media and get that book, because man, I'm gonna go pre-order a couple copies right now. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna send it to this person and this person.
Yeah, I had one person tell me the other day that they were going to buy all these copies because Mother's Day's right after, and they wanted to give it to all the mothers, the working mothers that they knew.
Oh, that's so cool. It's the rise of the entrepreneur right now, for sure. It's the ability to go out and do things part-time, right? Or go out and do things on your time basis, when you can go, okay, well, I can scale a business on the side and be a mom and, you know, or have a job and do something on the side as well. And I think that that is so powerful, because it's something that used to be frowned upon, is like working a lot. But now it's like, no, I'm just passionate. I'm just excited.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. Like, I've been there. Like I said, I have 4 kids. I've gone through my, is this worth it, wanting to quit phase. And I survived, right? I survived, and then came out and wanting to now kind of help other people kind of get through that a little easier.
A little more streamlined. So thank you. I appreciate you. And I know that through the years, I'm going to continue to reach out to you, because you've been through everything that I'm going to go through. And so I am really excited to have partners like you on my side. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So yeah.
Well, thank you for having me today, and I'm excited to spend more time with you in the future, and keep up this good work. I love this podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. So make sure that you guys share the show if you got value out of it. And until next time, that's Pursuit of Relentless signing out.